afternoon, my name is Karl McCartney. I've been the Conservative Member of Parliament for the last 5 years for Lincoln, and I'm now the Conservative candidate, parliamentary candidate for Lincoln, and I'm looking to serve you for the next 5 years as a Member of Parliament.
Welcome back to the Lincolnite, Karl. It's good to see you again. Let's kick off with housing and development. It's a really big issue for people in Lincoln. There are more than 3,000 people on the City Council waiting list, and there's a general shortage of housing in Lincoln. How would you address that?
Well, there's a number of things I can do as a Member of Parliament on a parliamentary level, which I think the Conservative-led government has done. But obviously it's an issue for the local Lincoln City Council, which unfortunately is Labour controlled. There's a number of issues obviously with empty houses, and that's something very early on in this Parliament that I have to tackle with some TV personalities who are involved in that campaign. And it's good to see that a lot, I think it's just short of 100,000 homes across the country, empty homes have been brought back into use, which is a good start. But we have made over £2 billion available to local councils like the City Council of Lincoln and to provide homes, and we've long had an overly long council house waiting list in Lincoln. That's something that the City Council need to tackle.
Have enough houses been built in Lincoln over the past 5 years?
I think probably enough houses in Lincoln haven't been built for the last 15 years actually, but that's something that we are tackling. We're all looking, I think all parties have said they're looking to 200,000 houses to be built across the UK every year. And that's obviously going to provide homes, but it's also going to provide jobs as well, which is something obviously I think as a Conservative I'm very pleased to see.
Okay, let's move on to business and the economy. It's another really important issue to voters here. What measures would you implement to help businesses grow and prosper in the city, addressing the skills gap on one hand and ensuring that workers are paid a decent wage on the other?
I think again as a Conservative-led government we've done a lot of things, and obviously our manifesto takes the further detail for what we're looking to do in the next 5 years. But if you look at the last 5 years of what a Conservative-led government has done, we've made it much easier for people to be employed, small businesses especially. We've taken an awful lot of people out of tax. So it's now well over £10,000 people earn. There's over 30 million people now in work who've received a tax benefit in the fact that they've had a cut. I've said, as a number of backbenchers in the Conservative Party said, we'd love to see that level raised to 15,000 that people can earn before they're actually taxed. That's an aspiration, maybe towards the end of the next Parliament, because we want to see the levels increase every year. But we want to carry on helping small businesses employ people. We've seen 2 million apprenticeships, proper apprenticeships, in the last Parliament in the last 5 years. We said there's going to be another 3 million in the next Parliament, and that's giving young people a great start in life and a great start at the enter the world of work.
And 20% of workers in Lincoln are paid less than the living wage. Is that right?
Well, I don't know where you've got the statistic from, but obviously we can all play with statistics, and it depends what level you set as a level, and that's not a statistic I recognise. Now, obviously, I want everybody to earn a proper, decent wage, and that's something I think as a Conservative we want to see people paid a fair amount for a fair day's work. That's something I think that we all have an aspiration for, but actually it's something that needs to be delivered, and I think most people in Lincoln who do a good day's work get paid well compared to other areas maybe across the country. But historically, Lincoln's never been at the top end of the salary scale, but that's part of the reason of the geographical nature of the area and the type of work that we do have. But the good thing is that over the last 5 years, we've seen a cut in youth employment of over a half, and we've seen a 44% reduction in those unemployed in Lincoln. Those are all good statistics for the city that I represent, and I'm very proud of that record as part of a Conservative-led government.
Okay, let's move on to schools and higher education. Lincoln has not one but 2 great universities.
Indeed.
Do you think it's right for most students today, though, to start their working life with at least £27,000 worth of debt?
Well, the aspiration set out by the previous Labour government when they were in power was to have 50% of young people going to university. I would say that it's not right for everybody to go to university, but for those who would like to go to university, I don't think we should stop them. But somebody's got to pay for that. And you've got to decide, is that people who decide not to go to university, that through their taxes they pay for other people to go to university? When those people who go to university and have a degree, and various evidence shows that they will earn probably well over 100,000 more than people who don't go to university through having had a degree and the benefit of a university education. Now, we've seen that in the last 5 years, contrary to what the Labour Party claimed, there's even more people from the poorer backgrounds across this country who are now accessing further education and going on to university. That's got to be a great thing. The Conservatives are all about aspiration. I know that I'm lucky enough to be a Member of Parliament, and a Member of Parliament for Lincoln through the educational chances that I had as a youngster, and I'm very pleased that the Conservative Party have made sure that that's open to as many people as possible from all backgrounds. Now, yes, people are talking about going to have to take that decision, that if they then go to university they're going to have to borrow that money, but that means that they're not going to pay it back till they're earning over £21,000 once they graduate, and they're going to be paying it back at a lower rate than they were previously. So I think that's the fairest system. Somebody has to pay for it. If students, want to go to university and have, full grant or other system that's put in place, somebody's going to pay for it through taxes. There is not a magic money tree. Any money provided by any government is raised through taxes. So somebody has to pay for it. I think it's only fair that those people who benefit actually pay for it.
Sure. Let's move on to the NHS then, and in particular pressure on NHS services in Lincoln and Lincolnshire. A shortage of staff and money has plunged ULH into black alert over the winter, and the Trust has paid out more than £30 million in negligence compensation. How would you address these problems?
I don't agree with some of the language that you've used there about our local hospital. Certainly, Lincoln County Hospital, I'm very proud that it serves my constituents in a much wider area. In fact, the people of Lincolnshire who use the county hospital, and myself and my family, my wife and my two boys, we've all used, with various sports injuries, have used the services of the hospital, and we've had impeccable care and attention from the nurses and the wards that my family have been on. So, and that's the same for the vast majority of people in Lincoln. Now, yes, they have had issues. It's actually long-standing issues at Lincoln County Hospital when there have been problems with specific wards. I've tried not to get in the way. I've been as supportive as possible, but also as a concerned Member of Parliament, I've visited those wards. I haven't made a song and dance about it in the media. I don't need to. But the people at the hospital, both at the front line, if you like, the doctors and nurses, will know that they see me at various times of the year. And it doesn't have to, as I say, it doesn't have to be in the media spotlight. And I also speak to the senior management as well when things aren't going particularly right on specific issues. Now, when the wider issue of the fact that they were in special measures, I'm very pleased that they will work very hard. Obviously, the Secretary of State for Health, Jeremy Hunt, has visited a number of times. I've kept in close contact with them and very pleased, obviously, to see the announcement that Lincoln County Hospital recently left special measures. But there are issues, long-standing issues that go back, obviously, to the last Labour government. And actually, my predecessor as the Labour Member of Parliament for Lincoln was a health minister. And as I said at the time, and I still say today, a number of very serious issues to do with the Labour Party setting, if you like, bars too high for targets and impacting negatively on patient safety was an issue that was swept under the carpet. And it seemed very happily by my predecessor and others in the Labour Party. And I'm very pleased that actually we're exposing that to daylight, and people like Gary Walker, the previous chief executive. We need to support whistleblowers, not condemn them. And those people who actually put those targets in place, as some of them are still in the health service, and actually we should be questioning whether they fit for the purpose of the job that they're now doing.
What other long-standing issues are there, and how would you address them over the next 5 years?
Well, there's other long-standing issues. We all want to see our public health services improve, whether that's at the hospital or elsewhere. And I think Lincoln County Hospital is doing very well. It's going to be a centre of excellence. It's here in our county city, if you like, the city of Lincoln. I don't think it's going anywhere. And I want to see those services improve. Obviously, I want to ensure that some of those extra nurses that have been put in place over the past 5 years and are going to be in place over the next 5 years, and doctors are going to be in Lincoln. I want to see us retain those good healthcare professionals in our city to obviously ensure that my constituents' health is a paramount importance to me and those people at the hospital. But I've if you like, proved my my work in supporting the health service. Doctor's surgery on Burton Road was going to be closed by NHS England. I worked with local residents ensuring that we fought a campaign to ensure that remained open. And I'm very pleased to say that it has done. And that's that's something as a local Member of Parliament, I think any Member of Parliament from whichever political side of the spectrum would want to do, and has done, and I think that's proved the case. So I got well behind that campaign, and we were successful in ensuring that the surgery has remained open.
Okay, let's move on to the Eastern Bypass to finish with, and it's the much talked about Eastern Bypass. I think most people agree there's a need for it to be built, but should it be dualled, and should it cut off Hawthorne Road?
It's been a long time coming. I'm told either 1916 or 1922, depending on who you talk to, the first time the Eastern Bypass was talked about. When I was elected in 2010, the Eastern Bypass wasn't going to happen. It was what didn't make the 25 infrastructure projects across the country that, because of the state of the economy, the government said were the only ones that could be afforded. For the first 18 months of my time, I fought to get the Eastern Bypass as a project, if you like, it wasn't even in the relegation zone. I had to get it back into the Premier Division, managed to do that. Unfortunately, a Lib Dem minister said, yes, the government will put some funding towards it, but only as a single carriageway bypass. And that's a real problem for me, because I've always said I'd like to see a new road rather than no road. But I think most people, the vast majority of people in Lincoln and the surrounding area, would say it really should be a dual carriageway. We don't want to end up like York, having an urban clearway with lots of roundabouts that, you know, at 2:30 every day becomes a massive car park. The reason for having a bypass is that it moves traffic, keeps traffic moving, and doesn't create congestion, but actually alleviates it. And I think that's what the Eastern Bypass can do. So I'd much rather see it as a dual carriageway. It's something I'm going to continue fighting for. Throughout the time of the Parliament, I worked hard to ensure, and I have done. I've met with both George Osborne and have mentioned it to the Prime Minister in private meetings as well. But with George Osborne, the Chancellor, he confirmed to me that 50 million has been ring-fenced. So obviously, should there be a Conservative majority government, which obviously we're all hoping and working towards, then obviously the Eastern Bypass is going to happen. But I still want to see it be a complete bypass that's dualled, not a single carriageway bypass. And if it is dualled, then Hawthorne Road would be a full road bridge over the dual bypass, as were the original plans pre-2010.
Okay, thank you for your time, Karl.
Thank you. As the Member of Parliament for the past 5 years for Lincoln, I've done my best representing the people of Lincoln to the best of my ability, and I'd obviously like the honour and privilege to continue that in the next 5 years. I think my record stands for itself, and if you read some of the literature or visit my website, you'll see those things that I've done, that I've been passionate about, serving my constituents well, and really looking to improve what already is a brilliant and lovely city. The historic nature of Lincoln needs to be protected, but we also need to move forward in the 21st century. And as the Member of Parliament, I'd love to continue the good work that I've already done. Thank you.